order. We can do everyone together. Right, we're in a bloody mess. I think I find everyone's calling for my resignation, and I do not feel that I want to do that. In fact, I was rather hoping I could just keep shuffling things around and do this for life. So, at this point, I am open to any and all suggestions.
Any suggestions?
Yes, for anything. What have you got?
Well, so you've tried a lot of the underhanded tactics. You've tried...
Oh, yes, privatization and...
Denial and...
underhanded tactics. I've funneled so much money off of the Russians and...
I mean, maybe, radical idea.
Right.
Maybe people will want to vote for you and keep you in power if you make things better for them.
But for them.
Yes.
Not necessarily just for me.
No, for them.
The people who pay me.
No, the people who vote for you and who ultimately decide if you are in power, maybe making things better for them would make them go, oh, things are getting better.
What, all of them?
I mean, ideally.
Not just the ones, who like me already or just would have voted for blue always.
No, if anything, the people who currently wouldn't vote for you are the people who you would most benefit from making things better for.
Right. So, we'll be renationalizing the entire health service.
Yes.
Pensions, retirement age lowered.
Yes.
A proper infrastructure for the North.
My goodness, yes, that would be a huge one for you.
Okay. What about offshore tax havens?
No.
Getting rid of offshore tax havens.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, right. Non-dom status.
No, not that.
We're getting rid of that entirely.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I think I've got a feel for this. Okay. And carbon emissions, we will punish the actual companies making it rather than forcing it down onto the public.
Yes. Finally, yes.
Okay, I'll give that a whirl. Right now. How about something a little bit more queer, pleasant, and strange? Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast with two queer trans women who talk about the media we've consumed in our week and do voices and skits and whatnot. How you doing?
I can still hear out of both ears, but it is still very painful.
You have painful but stereo hearing. COVID has given you some stereo.
I have the stereo, but it is very loud.
Yeah, I've gone from having to usually project quite loudly in your direction to, oh no, I should probably...
Dial it back just a little.
Dial it back like 10%.
Just 10%.
Just 10%. Well, you know what we don't have to dial back 10%?
The gayness!
I was going to say the things we've been playing this week and the opinions we have about them, but we don't have to dial the gayness back either. See, I was trying to do a nice little segue here, but... We can dial the gay up if you like.
Okay,
Smooch,
tell
smooch.
me, tell me just what the gayest thing you've been playing this week.
The gayest thing I've been playing. I have to look at what I've been playing and look for what in there is gay now.
I'm afraid so.
Nothing. Okay. One thing I played kind of was gayish at the end.
Okay.
I completed my first playthrough of Elden Ring.
Okay.
Exactly 2 months to the day after that game came out.
Oh wow!
It took me
Congratulations.
2 months to make my way through it, but I did it.
And did Tri-Finger Ring work?
Tri-Finger... Sorry, delayed. I've become desensitized to it at this point. Tri-Finger Ring did work.
Did work in the end.
Yeah, so I spent about 110 hours. I got my character up to about level 140 by the end on my big quest across the world. I am aware of some of the endings that game can have. I did one that involved a witch called Vrani, who I did her quest, and basically said, hey, the gods, they've kind of just kept fucking everything up. What if no more gods? What if we just no gods, no masters?
No gods, no masters.
Yeah, and you know, I go be gay with a witch in space on the moon. That's how my playthrough ended.
Be gay on the moon with
Yeah.
a witch. Yeah.
I very much enjoyed it mechanically. I found a build that was working really nicely for me. Toward the end, I had 2 different kinds of katanas, one of which shot laser beams, and I could summon a dragon head that spewed sort of rotting breath that made things take damage over time. And I leveled them both up like as much as I could on the weapons and ran around firing moon lasers at things. It was great. I ended up beating the final boss on stream. I summoned some people in to help from chat. It was a real tough final boss, but we did it. It was a real clean final fight, and I really like that game. There are areas on the map I never went to in my first playthrough.
Okay.
I feel like there is a lot of this game still that I have not seen. And, like, I could play this game over again and have a very different experience, and, like, it's a real good video game. That's a mechanically well-made video game, that.
Yay.
I don't think there's been a open-world video game since the original Breath of the Wild that I have been this invested in just mechanically being in the world. It is probably in about 5 years the most I've enjoyed an open-world game. It's real good. So yeah, I finished Elden Ring. It's a very good game.
Hell yeah.
What about you? What
About
you
me?
played?
Well, I have played through almost all of the current content of a game called Planet Crafter, or The Planet Crafter, according to Steam.
Aha! Steam differs from the actual game name.
I think it's just because it's just got to early access.
So
So I don't know if there's been some sort of, like, do we call it The Planet Crafter or Planet Crafter?
the devs haven't been sure.
I guess so, because, yeah, everything in the game, everything about the game seems to just be Planet Crafter. But Steam is like, oh yes, you wish to play The Planet Crafter. Very well. Yeah, so you are deposited on a planet in a tiny little pod, and you have a little machine for making things out of raw materials, and you have a little note basically going, this is your planet, terraform it, good luck.
Yeah, this seems like your sort of No Man's Sky Subnautica-y, here's a place, go find resources, survive kind of thing from what I've seen at a distance.
Except there's no monsters. There's no
Okay.
aliens. Which makes the whole concept of... Because a lot of these types of games, we sit there going, yes, but ultimately, this is just colonialism in space.
Okay, so
And the problem is very, very generally
Yeah.
like something like Satisfactory. You've gone to a
Yes.
planet, you are killing off all the wildlife and exploiting all the resources. With Planet Crafter, it is you are dumped on this planet, make it livable for other people.
I'm assuming weather conditions are a thing you have to survive.
Initially, you have issues of sandstorms. It's just very hard to see. There's no oxygen on the planet, so you have to deal with that.
Okay.
You have to start crafting oxygen tanks and then better oxygen tanks so that you can explore further and better. You need to make bigger backpacks so that you can carry more shit around with you. Because at first you are very limited to this tiny little basin of land.
Yeah.
And you can see like a crashed spaceship up on this hill, and the sky is like dark red, and everything underneath you is sand. And there's just like lumps of like magnesium and cobalt and iron and titanium just lying around. And it's like, okay, but if I get a couple of those, I can use my tool, my multi-tool, to make a little hut. And if I get in the little hut, I have an oxygen place. And if I build a chain of these little huts across the map, I can run from one to the other and stay alive while I try and do other things. And it is quite... Like, yes, you have to worry about your oxygen at first. You have to worry about your water. But, like, very early on in the game, it's really easy to just find raw ice, which you can just take straight to your crafting table and turn into water. There's so much of it about, and the periodic meteor showers that you get actually just rain down new materials, so you don't have to worry too much about where more materials is going to come from, or that you're using too many of them up.
Yeah.
And you can always deconstruct everything, and you don't lose anything for deconstructing it. You get all of your stuff back.
Nice.
It is in early access. It's about 14 quid at the moment.
Yeah.
It's really pleasant.
You're sounding very positive about it.
So in about 3 quite long sessions,
Yeah.
I have currently seen all of.
Yeah.
There's 2 items still to unlock, but they will take forever. And from what I can tell, they are just like more of the same thing.
Yeah.
Not strictly speaking necessary at this point. But just like playing Terraforming Mars, and it's interesting because it is also a red planet, you have to raise the oxygen, you have to raise the temperature, and you have to raise the pressure to build an actual atmosphere. So you are like shooting these lasers down into the ground to build up pressure. You're building like literal heaters that sit inside and build up heat. And you are eventually going to start getting plant spreaders. So like I can spread grass around, or I can start growing trees or algae. Because as you go further on and the planet gets hotter and hotter, ice all over the planet starts to melt. And then the water starts to rise.
Yeah.
And before you know it, where you started the game is now a fucking lake.
I did see that. I did see your starting location considerably underwater.
Yeah. One of the most glorious moments in that game is the first time you look up the sky and realise that after like 15, 20 hours, the sky has gone from a really deep, forbidding red to like this beautiful bright blue.
Yay!
And although the ground underneath you is still going to be quite red or yellow in the case of the deserty areas for a while, eventually you do start to like spread
you
enough.
can see you're making a change.
Yeah, you start to see like spots of grass like tufting up. You'll see like the whole area is just becoming really lush and grassy.
Yay!
And you're just researching more technology to be like, okay, I'm going to start spreading trees, or I'm going to send a rocket up that fires seeds into the atmosphere and just spreads plant life all over the planet.
Yay.
And eventually you've got like you can build a thing in your base that monitors like what state you're at. Like, okay, now you're starting to get grasses. Now you're starting to get trees. Now you're starting to get insects. And all of these things are just things that you have brought into being as a result of your work. And the devs have said, we don't want it to be about monsters and guns and all of that stuff. It's just a meditative thing of make the thing happen. There is quite a cool plot in the background. I don't know where they're going to go with that. I don't think it's finished yet. But from what you'll see like crash ships all over the planet, and sometimes they'll have like messages on screens, and you can just like find out little tiny bits of lore. Like there's one, you find a crash ship, and it's like they seem to be like a bounty hunter or something, or like an independent, and it's like, why have so many different corporations lost people in this planetary area?
Oh, you're sort of Bermuda Triangle-esque.
Where all are they going? Is your mission to try and find out what's going on and recover any information you have? There is a whole plot about like who you are, which is only sort of revealed once you get like a satellite dish for your base, and like a message screen so you can read incoming messages to you. There are like the people who sent you here trying to contact you. There are other people trying to contact you, and there are messages that you might find that were left for other people or to other ships, and you can like go and run through a ship, and that can be kind of scary because you have limited oxygen and limited water. You don't know when you're going to run out of food, but it's like, I'm going to go in the big scary ship.
Yeah.
And they're quite narrow corridors. And you have to like, well, okay, I think I know roughly where I'm going. I've only got this tiny little pinprick torch that doesn't do a great job of illuminating anything. It does that video game thing of, oh yes, I light a small cone and there is no reflected light to anything else.
Yeah.
So, like I'm in a early 2000s survival horror. But it's really quite tense. It's just like, okay, I have to find my way around things. Okay, that is blocking my way. I'm gonna just like tear that down and get the rare resources from it. Oh, I found a chest. Do I have time to check the chest, or do I have to run back outside and breathe? Or did I bring like oxygen canisters with me, like spares? It's a fun little explore, and I have largely seen everything that is there now, and I am fascinated where it is going to go.
Neat.
They have promised like a map that's going to be about 50% bigger and a vehicle. Like, travel is initially very difficult, but eventually you will get like speedy boots and speedier boots and speedier still boots and like a jetpack and a faster jetpack. So eventually you can like zoom from one end of the map to the other in about a minute and a half.
Okay.
So, like, at the very longest point, it's not taking a huge amount of time to get from one place to the other, but you really have to work up to that.
Yeah.
And it is weird sort of going, this was my whole world for, like, most of my first few days on this planet, and now... Zoomy, and I can go miles. Yeah, it's been a really fun experience, and if that is all I get for my 15 quid, I think... I've played a lot worse games. I paid a lot more for a lot worse.
Indeed.
So yeah, what about you? What have you played? I know.
Well, we played a thing together. We finally finished playing through The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons.
Yay!
There are moments where I really enjoyed that game, and there's a lot of moments where it felt like deliberately obtusely designed. There's no way you would know how to do this without a walkthrough, slow, plodding chaos.
Busy work. It's not a game that's designed for your modern lifestyle when you have a job.
I think I said this at some point while we were playing through it. I don't remember if it was on this show or it was just something I said to you, but the other Capcom Zelda game we recently played through, Minish Cap, had a lot of that sort of busy work in its design, and that seems to be something about how Capcom thinks about Zelda games. But I think that it felt a lot less frustrating because in Minish Cap you had a much smaller world that was much quicker to traverse, and the busy work was contained to a few discrete hubs that made sense to go back and check.
Yeah,
and
it was a lot of go back and do the shell thing.
Yes. And like, the thing about Oracle of Seasons is it's fundamentally the same kind of design of game, except it is an original Game Boy game with a much bigger map than Minish Cap, but a much slower traversal time because every few seconds you're having to load a map scroll. And I feel like that overly large map that is slow to traverse doesn't incentivize wandering around and trying to stumble naturally upon what to do next or where to go or where secrets are. It makes secret hunting naturally difficult and time-consuming and frustrating, and like we kind of fell back on a walkthrough for this because we would get to dungeons and be like, right, cool, we can do this, and we'd play through a dungeon and have a good...
For the most part, we had a brilliant time doing the dungeons, but the overworld stuff...
Anytime we weren't in a dungeon, it was like, okay, pull up the walkthrough, go to this, do that, move this many screens this way, this many that way, there's a thing there. Like, this game loves to drop collectibles and things that you would want into places you've already been much later without giving you any reason to think there would be a new thing there.
Yeah, and some of it is, okay, you've now got a new season power.
Yeah.
But others are literally just seem to be, oh yeah, time has passed and now this thing is a thing.
Yeah, like, a lot of it is things like, hey, you know that one house that you went to earlier and there was something to do? You just have to know to go back there and go. And if it was a small selection of places, that'd be fine. But every time you finish the dungeon, it feels like the game wants you to slowly, methodically recheck the entire map and everywhere you've already been, just in case somewhere added something new.
Yeah,
and like
you've got the whole thing with the kid, so you have to constantly go back and check on the kid. You have like the rings. Obviously, you're getting more of those.
Yeah.
Remembering where you've planted a gacha seed. remembering to go
Yes.
back and get those things.
Yeah.
Trying to work out where the 5 gold thingies are.
Yeah.
And by, I think, Dungeon 3, we had largely got bored of not even doing side quest stuff. A lot of it was, how do I get to the next dungeon and have more fun?
Yes.
So it was, pull up the thing, one of us would sit there with the controller, the other one would sit there just going up, left, summer, right, down,
Winter. Yeah.
blow up the wall, climb over the thing, through the
Yeah.
tree log.
It is. I'm glad we played through it. I'm glad I saw it through to the end. I want us at some point to go through Oracle of Ages and see
Yeah.
that combined ending you get for doing
yeah.
the. Because I like that in theory, the idea of like a pair of Zelda games and they're gonna like combine and there's a final boss because you did both. But like, Capcom definitely perfected their take on a Zelda game by the time they got around to Minish Cap, and it's kind of a shame that that's the last time they really did one. Because they learned a lot between the Oracle games and Minish.
I'm glad that whatever the third Oracle of games didn't happen. Because they did not have enough content for a third game.
Yeah. So I'm glad we got through it, but it is set aside the CDI games, this is probably the worst pair of Zelda games, I think.
Including Zelda 2?
I mean, Zelda 2 I at least had some degree of like, I can see a place, I'll go there. The zoomed out overworld at least gave me a sense of what might be progression.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of time, most of the time, like, dungeons, definitely prefer the Oracle games, but outside of dungeons, maybe Zelda 2.
Wow. There you go, you
Look.
heard it here.
Look, Zelda 2 ain't so terrible all of the time. What about you?
There's your caption.
What have-
Zelda 2, it's not so awful all of the time.
What have you been playing, Jane?
What have I been? We played some boarded games together.
We did.
We played some Oath,
Yes.
Chronicles of Exiles and Empires, or whatever its
yeah.
full title is.
I imagine we've probably talked about this, but a while ago on the show.
Long time ago.
We tried playing one game of this with some board game friends a while ago, and we picked the wrong day to try and teach a big, complicated game.
It was too late.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that, like, I'd been told, like, don't open any of the things. It is set up in such a way as you can teach the game straight out of the box. And it was slightly too long to set up,
Yeah.
slightly too much explanation, and slightly too much, you have to do this. Because the first
Yes.
2 turns were absolutely no independence
Yeah.
from any of the players.
Yeah.
The first 2 rounds for everybody were, you will do this, you will do this, you will do this. And occasionally people going, but why?
Yeah, so to be clear, this board game has a tutorial, and by tutorial it's not do this because blank. It just tells you to play turns.
Yeah. And it
And-
is giving you an example of each of the different things you can do, because you have like 6 possible actions.
Yeah, but it's not a good teach. It's
I think it could be a lot worse.
it could, but it could be a lot better.
Weirdly, I've seen Cole Worley teach that on a live stream.
Yeah.
And he does it in a very different way to that tutorial. And I think if his own version of teaching this had been in the actual game, it would have been so much better.
So the gist of the game is that you one person will be sort of in charge of this sort of kingdom that exists.
The Chancellor
There'll be the Chancellor
and the Oathkeeper.
and the Oathkeeper, and they have a thing they're trying to do to stay in power, like maybe control the most areas of the map, or have the people's favor, or something like that.
Or the Darkest Secret.
Yep. And there's a couple. Everyone else is trying to win in a couple of different ways. They're either trying to be better than the current ruler at the thing that's keeping them in power, or if they're in exile and they're not part of they're not a citizen of that land, they can do things like getting visions that will be alternate win conditions that they can use to sort of take over. And the game is limited to 8 rounds, and like rounds 6, 7, and 8, the current ruler gets to start rolling dice to see if they can win the game
As
holding
long as
power.
they are the current ruler and they are still keeping the oath,
Yeah.
then they get to roll the thing. The only thing that would stop them winning at that point is if there is a citizen in play and the citizen has completed the successor roll. Because at that point, if you roll that number and that person is the successor, then they take the win.
And if there is a time limit on this game in that there are, I think, 8 rounds total, and if you haven't, overthrown the current ruler by then, they stay in power. And yeah, it's a neat game. The reason we got back into it is because there's a clockwork.
There's an
automated.
automa. Yes, called the Clockwork Prince, who can play either as the Chancellor or as an exile.
Yeah.
So I've played a single player game against the Clockwork Prince. I initially found it quite tricky to use because it doesn't feel like the instructions really explain enough. Like, there are icons on the board that aren't actually explained in the rules as written specifically for the automa, and all of the automa's rules are written on one sheet.
Yeah.
Also, it's made by Leda Games, and all of their instruction manuals look like legal documents.
Yes.
It's like, this thing, subsection this, subsection that, you will be able to find the answer. And if you're on the internet and someone goes, what's the rule for this? And they go, oh yes, it's Section 5, subsection this, Article B.
Yeah.
Then they can go to their manual and check that exact thing. But sometimes there just doesn't seem like... Sometimes the answer is written on your player board. Sometimes the answer is specifically written on the card. Sometimes it's written on, like the back of the Grand Scepter has rules about how the Grand Scepter's used.
Yes.
But sometimes, if you cannot find a particular answer, it seems like there is almost no way of getting one. And they're like, check the Discord. So you go on the Discord, and the Discord is like, there are rules and instructions and hot messages about how to get things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to find an answer in the way you want to.
Which doesn't necessarily help with deciphering the complex flowchart that is deciding what this automated player will do.
Yep, and how it will pay for those things.
Yeah.
What it actually has the ability to do.
Yeah.
Because it's not always super clear. Yeah, but I think we've...
Yeah. You played a game against it and, got your head around it enough that we could play a 3-player game, so it was
We might not be playing it entirely correctly, but,
works.
we are certainly getting the same things that I've had people online say about it. The fact that it will, if given any opportunity, hoard all of the favour in the game.
Yes. It will stockpile all the resources.
So I'm seemingly playing it at least as well as other people online. And it seems to sort of play in a relatively sensible way. And genuinely quite competitive.
Yeah. Generally, my experience with a couple of games we played was that it will stockpile resources basically until there is an imminent threat, and then throw all of its stockpiled resources at making sure that imminent threat cannot be successful.
So basically, at the start of its turn, it will check for a threat. If it's the same threat as last time, it will stay in the same quadrant of its brain.
Ooh.
And then it will draw 3 cards. If there are any of the cards show a battle plan, it will increase its tactics marker, which means it gets to roll more dice when it attacks. And then it will go about trying to do other things, like if it's trying to get the people's favour, because that's the current Chancellor's oath, to hold the people's favour, then it will try and hoard as much cash as possible, and as soon as it can either buy or fight the current holder, it will do so.
Yeah.
If it can't, it will just loop back around and try and do that again. It makes sense. It will not start a fight unless it can roll more dice than the person it's fighting against, which makes sense.
Yeah, it seems reasonably well set up, this flowchart.
Yeah. And considering Cole Worley said he made it in an afternoon, that's not bad.
Yeah, it largely seems to make sensible decisions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's obviously it's got its own rules about a lot of things. It uses cards differently. It doesn't have a hand. It won't. Obviously, you can't negotiate with it or anything like that. And it really feels like a lot of this game is best sat around with a group of people going,
Yeah.
okay, look, you don't want them to win, you don't want them to win. Why don't we form a small alliance and do something or other? And a lot of the game is built around that, and also the stories,
Yeah.
because from the very first game, I have been writing
A little journal.
the little, it's what's it called?
Ledger?
Yeah. So basically, it encourages you to write what happened to the world, like who took power or kept power, who lost or who became a citizen, what things were used in order to do that, and at the end of the game, which faction put more cards into the pool than the others. Because at the end of the game, the person who won of their advisors, there are 6 factions, and whichever is the most popular amongst their advisors, 3 of those cards, and then there is like a little sort of circle diagram of like Pokemon elements. It's like, so if you had more, like say I had most Discord, so I put 3 Discord cards, then I think 2 Arcane and 1 Order.
Yeah.
And those cards come out of this like little library in the box. You add the cards without looking them, you shuffle them into the pile, but also 6 cards are going into the dispossessed. Not to be seen for a very long time.
Yeah.
And just the way you can write little stories, like at the end of the last game, I won based on holding... I was a citizen and I held the darkest secret.
Yes.
Which meant that I became the successor. But the card that kept me holding on to the darkest secret was a card called Insomnia.
Yeah.
Which meant that every time I went to sleep, I got a new secret.
Yeah.
So when I was writing the journal at the end, it was like, yep, I became really, 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 really chaotic.
You saw the dark secret and you couldn't sleep anymore.
And I couldn't
the
stop
secrets
gathering
grew.
more secrets to myself. And now I'm really paranoid. And that's sort of how I'm flavouring going into the next game.
Yeah.
It is quite... It's getting quicker, but it is a long pack down.
Yes.
If you want the game to flow... If you want the game to be easy to unpack and get to the table, you need to spend a decent amount of time, like, writing the journal, sorting out the deck, and setting up, like, stacking the deck for... you have, like, here's 10 cards, then you add 2 of the visions to it. Here's 15 more cards, add 3 more visions. Shuffle those 2 piles independently and shuffle the rest of the cards underneath that. And then put that together, and that is the new deck for the new game.
Once you've had your fun, you have to do your homework.
You do have to do a bit of tidying up.
Enjoy playing a board game, and then please write me a 5-page essay on what happened in your game.
I don't think I've ever written a 5-page.
No, but
I've written most of a sheet of A5.
That's the vibe, though. It's like you can do a fun thing, but you got to do your homework after.
Yeah, I mean, it says you don't have to, but it really does encourage that it is easiest to understand what is happening if you do all this, like, pack away properly at the end of the game.
Yeah.
In theory, you could just keep playing with the same world deck, but the game itself wouldn't evolve the way it is designed to. But yeah, I have enjoyed that. We had 2 more games of that.
Yeah.
You got to go at being Chancellor. How did you find Chancelling?
I mean, I should have come down on you much hard when you as my citizen attacked me. I was like, you know what? I think I can mediate this, and no, I should have jumped to exile when I had the chance.
To be fair, I only attacked you because you picked up the circlet of command, which you had in the previous game and was how you won the game.
Yes, and as the ruler, I should have taken it back and punished you for your insolence.
I didn't want to have exactly the same scenario play out twice.
Insolence.
Yes, insolence. I wanted a difference. And I had a difference. I have brought more chaos to the world. What about you? You played anything else?
A very quick thing. I played around a bit with the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck has had an update.
You can have a pin.
Yeah, well, that's not what I was going to talk about, but apparently yes. So the reason I was excited about the Steam Deck update is it purported to fix one of my biggest issues with the Steam Deck and its usability.
The big flashy lights.
The big flashy effect that sometimes happens as a result of a bigger problem, which is in gaming mode, the sort of nice handheld console-style interface, the Steam Deck doesn't like switching primary windows. If you have a program open and you try and open a second window, it's a crapshoot whether it'll open the second window at all, whether it'll flash full screen flashes back and forth trying to decide which is the primary one, like whether it'll freeze up. Anything where you're opening an additional window on top of your window, just didn't work, and they've updated it so that now there's a nice easy window switcher. So if a thing opens a second window, you can press one button and see which windows the program has open, and you can switch which one's primary. And I was like, that's great, because that solves a fundamental problem I've had with the Steam Deck, which is that certain software was only really runnable in desktop mode. Anything that opened a secondary window just didn't really work in gaming mode. And this kind of fixes the problem almost. So it does now work.
Has it stopped the flashing?
It's stopped the flashing in my brief limited testing. I can't promise that's the case, but I have not experienced it happening. Yeah, now all it'll do is if it opens a second window, it'll either auto open that other window or you can just switch to it, and that's fine. That allows for things like certain games in the Epic Store will require you to be like, yes, sign me into my Epic account in a little pop-up window before you can play them. That's those games you previously you could get them to run fine on the Steam Deck, but in gaming mode, as soon as like you'd use the Heroic launcher, which is their like Linux Epic Store, and the game would try and boot up, but you couldn't see the game because it's a new window, and now you can just swap over to that window, and you can swap over to the window that you need to click authorize in. The problem, and the reason why this doesn't actually work, is the Steam Deck doesn't recognize your controller controls in anything but the first window a program opens. So, you can, for example, like, open up your emulator and open up the separate window that the emulated game runs in, but it doesn't recognize your controller. Or you can use the Heroic launcher to launch into a game, but the game doesn't recognize your controller. So hopefully that's just an oversight and it's easy enough to fix, because, like, this has very almost fixed that problem. And when that is fixed, it's going to really open up a lot of basically all the software that the only reasons I was having to switch to desktop mode will go away. And I kind of appreciate that, but it's so indicative of how Valve has been with the Steam Deck, where it's like, oh, you fixed that problem. Oh, no, okay, you didn't. Like, it's the kind of thing that, like, if you'd put this in the hands of one person who has, like, been using this as a player, they could have pointed out, yeah, but my controller doesn't work. And, like, that seems like such an obvious thing that you would check. It seems like such a weird thing to not catch, because that's the whole reason you would have this update. So that was exciting and then frustrating, but it is exciting because, like, it seems like we're 90% of the way to having the good fix. What about you? Have you played anything else?
Yeah, I played one other thing. I have been playing Under Falling Skies.
Oh, this is a board game that was a print and play,
Yes.
but has shipped as, like, a boxed thing.
So at the beginning of lockdown, they released it as I think, like a 9-page print and play. You have, like, a bunch of things you print out to be your sky, and it has little icons on it, and you move these, like, enemy spaceships down, and you have, a mothership that, if any of the ships get shot down, they'll be sort of redistributed from there, but also if the mothership gets all the way down to the ground level, then you're fucked.
It's a little bit Space Invaders.
It's basically Space Invaders, but dice placement.
Yeah.
So you have 2 grey dice and 3 grey dice, 2 white dice. You roll them all, and anytime you place a white dice, you have to re-roll any unused dice. And you have a little underground area. So you're initially, like, you have a row of AA guns at the top, which means that if you put any dice you put in there, the enemies will move down 1 less than they would usually.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to put a die in each of the 5 columns.
Yeah.
And whatever number you put on the die, or whatever the value of pips there are on the die, then the aliens will move down that many places. So it's a case of, do I move them carefully down, or do I want to really go for it? Because all the while you're trying to gain enough energy to use certain functions. So it might be, want to scramble some fighters, and if there are any aliens on certain icons, it looks like a little explosion. It will have a number on it, and any aliens on those, when you activate the scramble things, based on what number you have on the scramble action, it will shoot down everything that number and below.
Yeah.
And sometimes that will cost you energy, and there's just sometimes generating more energy will cost you energy. So it's like, do you have enough to generate more on that? But the most important thing is research. Because you are trying to push this research track up to the top, and as soon as you hit that top, that's it, game over, you win. But if the aliens get to the top, if the mothership gets to the bottom, you lose.
Yeah.
If enough enemies hit the bottom of the board, you lose. And there is a certain strategy to, there's like arrows on the columns for the aliens. So you maybe want to move them down in such a way that they shift over and you end up with a clear column, or maybe a couple of clear columns. And then, like, I'm going to place a 1 on there. So the AA means that they go -1 of whatever is on the pip, which means they don't move this turn, but I can put high value die into things in the other columns. But also you're trying to excavate more rooms below the surface. So you can spend points on a die to move your excavator forward. And uncover more powerful rooms, because all the best rooms are way at the bottom of the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty fascinating on its own as that. But also the box version of the game is firstly, it's got all custom pieces in it. It's got nice little plastic aliens. The boards are all really nice, and it has a 4-part campaign. So you have different cities to defend, which each have their own superpowers. You will have different characters that you can play as, and they will support you, and they'll give you extra advantages. Like maybe they'll let you change the value on your die, but that once that power is used, you don't get to use that person anymore. It's been really fascinating so far. I think I'm just about to start the 3rd part of that, so I'm 4-5 games in, maybe. So I've played the introductory game and then the first 4 of the main campaign. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. That is a nice little thing to do as just a solo board game. You could probably sit down and strategize with somebody if you wanted, but it's also nice to just have a thing that is just like a sit and ponder over.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you played anything else?
I think that's it for me.
Well then.
Time for this.
Right. So we're several episodes now deep into our new series.
Yes.
And I thought we'd been quite clear about the romance when we'd been writing it.
Yes, there were lots of longing looks. We put those in there.
Lots of sort of tender touches of the hands, and then a sort of recoil away, but then a sort of, maybe I move the hand back.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd been quite clear, because we've written romance stories before, you see.
Yeah.
Usually by this point, everyone's gone, yes, this is a romance. I'm excited for the romance.
Yeah.
And for some reason, in our gay firefighters show, no one seems to be getting excited about the possibility of romance.
Right. What do you?
I don't know. It's a mystery. This is a real mystery.
What if we killed one of them off?
How would that progress the romance?
Well, then people would see how sad one of them was about the loss of the other one, you see.
Well, I mean, but we want them to have the romance. We're just writing a romance story.
Right.
So, what if I don't know how much more explicit we can make it. We've had the what is this feeling? Is it love conversation?
Yeah.
How have they not realized this is romantic yet? These two men are just staring longingly into each other's eyes. Last episode we had the lips literally touching and quivering and almost. How are they not on board with this is romance?
Is it because we keep killing them off?
Is it because we do this a lot? Because we like their money, but then we don't follow through ever.
I mean,
Not even once.
I hadn't considered this, but I mean, we did just finish season 18 of We Promise They're Straight, in which once again we did sort of do all of these things, and then it turned out they were straight.
I mean, we did. It was right there in the title. I don't know why people.
Exactly. Platonic not lovers. Has just had another season, and I mean, we maybe have done
the romance was a wonderful show.
Oh yes. No homo. Like seriously, just had season 2.
I love the way our shows keep getting renewed for another series.
I have just had a memo.
Oh, right, yeah.
The gay one we're doing.
Oh.
It's just not been renewed for a second season.
Oh, well, I guess we'll just have to, we'll just leave it as it is, I suppose.
I'm sure it'll be fine with that cliffhanger we had planned.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Hey, I picked these deals just for you. Last day for the deals.
No, thank you.
But I picked them for you.
I'm sure you did. No, thank you.
Am I wasting my time?
I didn't ask for these deals.
But these deals, you agreed, you signed up. We said you could only have the freebie if you signed up to our newsletter, and then you forgot to cancel it.
Yeah.
And you said that we could send you information about our deals.
Yeah.
But now I've sent you information about your deals,
Yeah,
I don't see you jumping on any of these the last day as well.
I mean, I'm not obligated. Just because you've offered me deals, it doesn't mean I'm obligated to take one of the deals.
Oh, you think you're too good for my deals?
No, I just don't.
Should I be picking better deals?
I just don't want any.
Is this my fault? Have I picked the wrong deals?
No, I just am not interested.
Well, the unsubscribe button is right down there.
Okay.
Email not found in our database. So, what have you put in your...
I've watched a couple of interesting YouTube videos this week.
Oh.
I watched an hour-long documentary called Polybius, the video game that doesn't exist, on the YouTube channel Ahoy, Ahoy. Have you ever heard of Polybius?
I suspect I have watched this very documentary, because there was a bunch of them last year or the year before. I guess everyone was stuck inside. It's like, let's make a thing about Polybius.
Yeah. So the gist of this is a couple of decades ago there started being rumours of an old arcade machine that existed in one location, I think in Portland, that was very short-lived and then got taken away, and there were allegedly photos of the cabinet, and allegedly it was some kind of weird government conspiracy, trying to test mind control stuff on teens or something.
Yeah, people were talking about kids being hypnotized or kids having seizures.
Basically, one of the earliest video game creepypastas.
Yes. The fact that there were men in black that would come and remove data from the cabinet. Ooh.
And the fact that this clearly non-existent video game doesn't exist isn't the interesting part of the story. This documentary spends an hour basically digging into trying to work out where did this start and where is the origin of this, and not being able to to actually prove, but basically tracking it down to one person who very likely was trying to spare a practical joke and now is afraid to admit what they did.
It was on a Usenet group, wasn't it?
Yeah, so basically it gets tracked back as far as the first ever mention is on some Usenet group, and the identity of the poster on the Usenet forum becomes fairly obvious because they were cross-posting in other places. And some of the stuff that's really interesting is the first time it hit mainstream notoriety is when it got posted in Video Game Magazine.
Yes.
And there's a brief interview with Dan Reichert, I think, who was the editor at that magazine at the time, being yeah, I'm pretty sure the person who sent me that tip is the person who made it up, and I was I was fooled.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have seen this one.
Yeah, it's a really interesting little documentary.
There's a couple of really good ones,
yeah.
And I love that at some point people have decided that Like, there is a specific font, there is a specific look for that cabinet
Well,
that gets used everywhere.
Yeah.
It was in fucking Loki. It was in the Loki series.
Exactly, and like it's been in the background of a Simpsons episode,
Yes.
Polybius. But like the thing that I like is like, yeah, there is the story of like who faked this and why, but like it also goes into these really interesting tangents about like people who've made their own fake Polybius games
Yeah.
and people who've made their own like bodge job cabinets in the past, and it's going into the history of the things that like the community has decided are canon.
Yeah, lots of things that like people have made like nice like monitor out. I can't remember what you call them, like bezels.
Yeah.
Monitor bezels for their main cabinets with Polybius on.
Looking at like faked alleged PCBs from inside cabinets and like debunking them. It's just a really interesting hour or so.
And then there's also the Polybius heist, the Ashens movie.
Yes, which again, like, this gave me an appreciation for why a heist for a copy of Polybius would be an interesting premise. You see. What about you? What have you been watching?
Oh, we watched a thing together.
What did we watch?
We watched the Gay Pirate Show.
We watched what's it called?
Our Flag
Our Flag
Means
Means Death. Yeah. We binged that in a single sitting, and by God, that needs a second season.
Oh yes.
That there was a point, like, not talking about spoilers, there was a point during that first season where I was like, I want this to have a happy ending because it's a gay show, and gay shows don't get renewed for a second season.
Yeah.
You can't. I was like, Taika Waititi, you're doing a very good show here, but you probably don't realise how unlikely you are to get a second season because you put gay shit in this. Please just end it here. And now I'm on the camp that needs a season 2.
I need to see season 2. I need answers.
Yeah,
I need answers.
do we want to explain, like, basic premise of this? Because, like, I'd heard a lot of people talking about the Gay Pirate Show, and I didn't know anything about it going in.
Okay, so there is Steed, who is basically the main character.
Yeah.
He is a spoiled little rich boy
He's
who
a
went
sort
to a
of,
private school and...
foppish fancy lad
Yes.
who doesn't want to have, you know, the big burly men in his life being like, you're weak and pathetic. He's like, I'll show you, I'll go be a pirate.
I'm going to go and be a pirate.
But like a gentleman pirate.
But yes, a gentleman pirate.
a nice pirate.
Yes.
A polite pirate.
I took my library to see.
But like, it's like, hey, look, hey, rough and tumble pirate crew, I will pay you a salary. You will not be contingent on the treasure we
You'll
find.
get benefits.
Yeah, there'll be a little rec room downstairs. It'll be lovely.
A ballroom.
Yeah, let's go be nice, happy, friendly pirates.
Yeah.
And the entire cast is wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many very endearing characters.
Yes, the crew are amazing.
Yeah, it's... By the end of that first episode, I was very emotionally invested in the fates of everyone.
Yeah, by the end of the first episode, I was very invested. By the end of the 7th episode, I was like, oh my god, I need to know what happens. And by the end, I was like, I need another thing.
Yeah. So, I really hope this gets renewed, because it's very good, it's very well written.
Why wasn't it advertised anywhere?
Because gays.
Because gays.
Because Taika Waititi put a bunch of gay shit in there.
But it's so good.
It's real. I've been reading some interviews about this after watching it, because like I'm fascinated by it's a really interesting little show, and like the most interesting interviews have been about like Taika Waititi and David, I forget his surname, the other co-creator, basically talking about like, hey, so we just shot this the way we would any other thing that had a romance narrative in it, just it's gay. And them having to come to terms with the realization that queer baiting exists, and that's why for several episodes people didn't pick up on the gay shit. They were like, we're putting it in the same we would any romance. Why are people not picking up that it's romance? Oh, you've been let down by faked romance. We see. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, I think they're putting it together exactly the way they would have. Like, their complete obliviousness to the state of queer romance allowed them to tell a queer romance story that didn't feel like it was trying to be a queer romance story.
It didn't feel tropey.
It didn't feel tropey, it didn't feel forced, it just was it was just a good dramatic comedy that happened to have some good gay shit in it.
Yeah.
And I'm very the core romance in that, I'm so emotionally invested.
Mm-hmm.
I need everything to be okay. I need everything to be okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have anything spoiled for me about that show. Just, I think the one thing I saw was a meme that said this show's got everything. He's, she's, he, theys, she, theys. Queer relationships, like canon queer relationships.
And not just one, it's not just being like, here is the gay relationship, you get this one.
Yep.
Yeah, everyone in that is superb.
Yeah.
It's real good. I need a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sit down and binge the whole thing in one go.
Yep.
Oh, so good.
I think that one of my favourite moments in that entire show is the person standing in the hallway in the party episodes who's just like,
I go
have a room.
Yeah, I think we enjoyed this the perfect way, which was we binged the entire show in one sitting.
Over a bottle of wine.
Over a bottle of very fruity wine and takeaway pizza. It was a very good evening. That's very good.
Yeah. So, what else have you watched?
I watched another interesting YouTube video.
Yeah.
Just finding the name of it. How I Made the Impossible Trade Between Gen 2 and Gen 3 on the YouTube channel Goppier, Goppier. So, Pokemon, you can generally transfer them from your old games up across through the new games. With one exception.
Right.
Generation 2, Gold and Silver, up to Generation 3, Ruby and Sapphire on the Game Boy Advance.
Right.
You cannot trade Pokemon between those generations.
Okay. Can you go straight to 5?
Nope. You can go from 1 to 2, and you can go from 3 all the way up to the modern day.
Okay.
But there is a barrier between 2 and 3 where it just isn't doable. And like there are ways to get Generation 1 and 2 Pokemon into your modern collection now through the 3DS mainly. If you play the 3DS remakes, you can just upload them straight to Pokemon Bank.
But not even through something like Stadium?
Nope. Like, your physical cartridge, Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon will never make it further into modern games.
Okay.
So, someone went out and made a little custom PCB device for trading between Gens 2 and 3. It's a fascinating little thing. So first of all, he had to work out how the data was being encoded for the Pokemon you were sending and receiving in Gen 2. Do the same on Gen 3. And then start looking at differences between how they work. Like, there are certain things like hidden abilities that were introduced in Gen 3 but weren't in Gen 2. So what do you do when you trade a Gen 2 Pokemon to Gen 3? Things like in Gen 2, you can unplug the link cable as long as you're not yet trading, and that's fine, but you can't in Gen 3. In Gen 3, you have to move around to go sit down at the trading desk, but you don't in Gen 2, and how you simulate data to tell Gen 3 that there's a player on the other side moving around, even though Gen 2 doesn't send that data. And basically, he made a program that would, run on this little chip that would interpret the Gen 2 data, translate it into Gen 3 data, would allow the Gen 3 player to basically mirror movements with their trade partner, so it seemed like they were coming to sit down and trade, that would generate abilities when doing the trade, and successfully traded the shiny red Gyarados from Gen 2 into Gen 3, and had it successfully work with all of its stats intact.
Wow.
There's a part of me that wants to email this person and be like,
Can I get one?
Can I pay you to make one? How difficult are these to make? Because I kind of want one. That's fascinating, this weird little device. So yeah, it was a real interesting video. Also, I don't remember the YouTube channel. I will try and look it up in a second. I watched another video right after that was really interesting. That was someone made a challenge of trying to catch every Generation 2 Pokemon in the first generation Pokemon game. So you know how Missing No is a thing. You've come up with a Pokemon that doesn't exist and it's loaded up this placeholder garbage.
Right.
Missing No is not just one thing. Missing No shows up. So there is one byte of data, 256 entries,
Yes.
that dictates what Pokemon gets called like what that marks which Pokemon a Pokemon is in a list.
Okay, so anything on over 150.
50 is technically an index number that if you trade that missing no to Gen 2 will be a Gen 2 Pokemon.
Huh.
Now there are
But that's surely got to just be luck, right?
so you can work, like, people have worked out what the index numbers are, like, by cross-referencing with Gen 2 and going, okay, that means that. And you can specify which index number you want, the same way that the old, making a Mew spawn glitch worked.
Right.
Where there is, you walk in front of a trainer and teleport away before you can encounter them, and it makes a certain thing
Okay,
appear.
so you're manipulating data in memory?
Yeah, basically you need to get a Pokemon, you need to fight against a Pokemon that has the special stat that is exactly equal to the index number you're looking for,
Right.
and then do this glitch, and you will get the correct index number show up.
Okay.
The problem is, in trying to trade from Gen 1 to 2, is that missing no will get recognised in Gen 2 as the right Pokemon. So
Yeah.
let's say, oh yeah, I recognise that's a Marill, but because of the way it's shown up, like Gen 1 didn't know what types those Pokemon were, you might have a rock-type Marill rather than a water-type. And,
Oh, wow.
And Gen 2 knows to check whether the type's right and goes, yeah, that ain't right, and won't accept it.
Okay.
So you then get into arbitrary code execution to change the type of your
Jesus.
missing no to make its type the correct type so that it will trade. Fun fact, Pokemon that only have one type in Gen 1 actually have that type twice. So a fire type, if it's just fire type, will be a fire type.
Okay.
And he had to work out how to arbitrary code execution not just the first type but the second type as well.
Okay.
But he started successfully trading missing nos into Gen 2 and having them show up as the Pokemon they were meant to be.
That's wild.
Not every Pokemon is doable. There's a couple of weird exceptions that largely revolve around, sometimes it won't spawn a missing no, sometimes it'll pull something, from game data that's also in that list, like, not everything above 150 is a Pokemon. Some of them are like the Professor Oak battle, that you can
Okay.
catch a wild Professor Oak. That's a bit weird that you can do, but like, some of them were not capturable missing nos, but like, they did a surprisingly good job of catching Gen 2 Pokemon in Gen 1 and trading them over.
And before anyone says there's 151 in Gen 1, I'd like to point out that the number probably starts from 0.
So yeah, that was an interesting video, and I'll try and find the YouTube creator's name, but also I don't know if I can find it. I watched it like
It'll
a
be
week
in your
ago.
history.
It will, but I watched it like a week ago. I'll have to go digging. What about you? What did you watch?
Oh, what did I watch? I think that was it.
Yeah?
It's not
Well,
been a watch every week.
I mean, we've been watching something together.
Oh yes, we have been watching Adventure Tim.
Adventure Time! We're a little way into season 4.
Oh yes.
So yeah, how have you been finding this rewatch?
Awesome. I love Adventure Time, it's great.
It is. So yeah, this is my first time properly watching through Adventure Time, and okay, so
I think we might have talked a little bit about season 1 last week.
I think we vaguely touched on it, but I've now seen enough that I have like more fleshed out thoughts. So season 1, it's very clear they had the core characters and characterization they wanted down, and like the core idea was there. There are some elements of season 1 that like they kind of just overplay a little bit. Season 1 is very Finn likes cute girl who's older than him. Ice King wants princess. It's very centered on women as object plot lines. And like there's a lot of that, but like at its core, I think season 1 like has a good sense of the characters and the sense of humor and the tone, but it doesn't necessarily know where it wants to go with that.
Or it very much seems to just want to keep being that.
Yeah.
Like it wants to be, he is the hero and he saves all the princesses.
Yeah.
Because basically every woman in this show is a princess.
That being said, like
Apart
season
from Tree Trunks.
yeah, as much as I enjoyed season 1 has a lot of like, it'll come up with plot threads and then kind of just decide that it doesn't like them anymore. Like, one of the very first things that's established is, Jake, the dog, has this conflict where he wants to spend more time with both his girlfriend, Lady Rainicorn, and Finn the Human. And it's set up like... It seemed like it was trying to suggest sometimes Jake won't be around for every adventure because he does have a life outside of Finn. And then nothing ever comes of that. You don't see Rainicorn for another season and a half. And it's like, there's a few things like that seem like they're interesting. Like, oh yeah, here's some nuance to that character. And no, we're gonna drop it and run instantly.
I mean, it is Adventure Time with Finn and Jake, so
Yeah,
I can kind of see why we don't get so much of that, but I see your point.
I mean, yeah. Look, it's Adventure Time with Finn and Jake. The core of the show is them. But, like, I expected 1 or 2 episodes maybe in that first season of Jake's doing something else for a bit with Rainicorn or something. Or even just Rainicorn being present in other episodes. Like, there's some stuff like that that's like, yeah, you're clearly finding your footing.
And now we've had stuff with Lady Rainicorn's parents.
Yes.
We've seen some stuff from Finn and Jake's dad.
Yeah. So yeah, season 2 definitely feels like it's getting its footing and it's getting a bit more adventurous with a thing that was clearly planned to be part of the plot since the first episode, because it's sort of there in the intro. The, hey... This is the remnants of a world that came before, in the aftermath of a certain, look, season 2 uses the phrase the Mushroom Wars.
Yep, and we also get, I can't remember, I think it is season 2. We got our first sight of Susan Strong and the people who live in the underground.
Yes, who live in the bunker underground, and, like, season 2 feels like where the show is, like, it's realised maybe that its strength lies in cute, fun absurdity, but sometimes the absurd punchline actually is something and will come back later.
Mm-hmm.
And contrasting the cute, silly nonsense with the dark stuff, because the contrast makes both of them stand out better.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3... definitely feels like it's trying to pivot more into that direction, but also that it's trying to pivot more towards fleshed out character dynamics and characters being more than their one-note character trope.
And less of a... It feels like more things in the show have consequences.
Yes. And it feels like we're getting more little looks at the wider state of the world. You're getting things like, hey, here's your first little glimpse at how the Ice King ended up here.
Yep.
We're getting some sense of, like, what are the interplay between the various factions in this world? What are maybe some of the big threats that are going to eventually become a problem?
Yeah, we got a first sighting of Marceline's dad, Hunson Abadir.
We did. We've started to get some of the episodes with child-appropriate body horror.
Yeah, we got the Lich.
Yeah, we've started to get the stuff that I would describe as, like, being like Ko the Face Stealer in Avatar The Last Airbender. Because this is for children, we have to get creative about our horror, and in such, it's going to be far more horrific than it would have been if we could just have violence.
Oh, yeah.
Like, some of that shit's been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, end of season 3 into start of season 4... has very much felt like it's trying to course correct some of the complaints I have about season 1 in particular, in that, like, it's starting to do things like addressing, hey, Finn and Princess Bubblegum are not necessarily age-appropriate, and introducing age-appropriate characters for Finn to be interested in, and, like, it seems like it's trying to... It's starting
Get rid of some of the ick.
It feels like it's finally having its moment of, let's look critically at what we did before and work out if, without having to necessarily retcon, we can move in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I am feeling really confident. The show feels like it's on a very good trajectory. It's going from strength to strength, which is really nice to see.
You saw Marceline's t-shirt?
I did, yes.
We saw Marceline's teddy bear.
Yeah, gosh.
We've seen, like, whole bits of that. We've had yet more Marceline backstory stuff. We've now had our second episode with Marceline's dad. And what
Yeah.
a massive jerk he is. We've seen the Fire Kingdom at last.
Yeah, I didn't realise it took this long for Flame Princess to be a character.
Yeah, and Flame Princess's dad,
Yeah,
who is also a complete jerk.
it's... The show has been really interesting, and it reminds me somewhat of early Steven Universe or early Avatar The Last Airbender, in that sort of... The thing that feels like the show's hook doesn't show up initially. And if you watch the first couple of episodes and go, this feels like, it feels like it's going nowhere, and I'm not sure if I'm interested. Like, there is something more, and if you can just enjoy what it is at the start, in spite of its issues, it is on a trajectory somewhere. In that same sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you watched anything else?
The only other thing I've watched is I've been trying to watch through some of that the ocean cut of Naruto, the fan edit that I mentioned the other week.
Yes.
The main thing that's been slowing me down is this is one YouTuber's personal fan edit they've made, and therefore getting the files downloaded is sometimes a little spotty. But like I'm getting there. I've watched the first 4-hour-long episodes. For anyone that's watched Naruto, I am basically up to the Haku fight near the start. Sasuke's just used the Sharingan for the first time. This is such a better paced way to revisit Naruto. I forgot how much I like Naruto. It's good. Even these early episodes, they're good. I'm invested in Naruto, and I'm going to be binging it. And while I don't have a huge amount to say right now, once I get to the later sections, I'm sure I will have more to say, because it's going to get dramatic. You watched anything else?
Not necessarily this week, but there is a series I've been watching that I keep thinking to bring up and then forgetting about completely.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of Vulo Lives?
If I have, I don't know it by name.
This is the new project from Jason Steele of Film Cow.
Okay, no,
Charming the Unicorn.
I haven't seen any of this.
What if a weird centipede bug thing was wearing the face of an anime girl and had a late night chat show and the co-host was the One True Moon, who just sort of ominously goes
This sounds like something the creator of Charlie the Unicorn would make.
And they've had such guests so far as Sonic the Hedgehog, Elsa, Pikachu, Grimace. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, having not seen any of it, but just knowing the creator's previous work, I was going to say chaotic was the word I was going to guess.
Chaotic, weirdly political.
Okay.
Like, the most recent episode is the guest is Grimace.
Right.
Grimace has recently been assassinated by Ronald McDonald. Come back to life. We talk about the anatomy of a Grimace. The state of McDonald's as a company. And I think all of the episodes, I'm pretty sure every episode ends with a little 5-minute story about basically nasty shit in history, but also from the point of view of America was very much involved in a lot of this, overthrowing communist governments and so forth.
Yeah.
Then there's also I think it's Henry Kissinger is stuck in one of the pages from Myst. You remember in Myst?
Yeah,
with the little static pages?
I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Henry Kissinger is stuck in one of the pages from Myst. And I think that's from the first episode, so not too many spoilers there. It's strange, just the way this, what would be quite a creepy character, is just hi, I'm Vulo the Face Borrower, which is what made me think about it, because you mentioned the Face Stealer.
The Face Stealer, yeah.
Yeah, Vulo Lives. It's a fascinating show. Yeah, 10-minute, 11-minute episodes.
right.
And the marionette that tells the horrifying world history stories at the end is really fucking good. It's creepy, but it's like a very cool puppet.
Yeah.
And it has just whoever built the set behind it, there's so much detail in there, it's incredible.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you watched anything else?
That's everything I've watched this week.
Well then.
Time for this.
Laura, got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you sometime... Okay, picture the scene.
I'm picturing the scene. I have aphantasia, but I'm trying to picture a scene.
Put words together of the scene.
Conceptualize the scene.
Conceptualize the scene. You had a workman come around.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they were like, oh yeah, we're going to look at that shower that hasn't worked for 6 months for you.
Oh, did I, book them in? Did I know they were coming?
Nah.
Oh, they just showed up.
Nah, we're going to come around and have a look at it, right?
Yeah, okay.
You going to fix it? No, they're not going to fix it. They're just
No.
going to have a look at it.
And they've just come back right now and they just want to fix it right this second.
No, that was last week.
Oh.
They were like, okay, thanks, we've had a look at it, bye. And you had nothing.
Oh.
And you contacted the landlord and nothing. Now here it is, 10 minutes to 5. You've got shit to do.
I've got bleach on my hair. I
You've
need
got
the
bleach
shower.
on your hair. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, we're back to sort out the shower. I know you've been waiting 6 months for it.
I really don't want to tell them to go away because it needs to be done, but also, how long is this going to take? I need to get the bleach off my hair at some point so my hair doesn't fall out, and this really isn't convenient. I want to tell them to fuck off, but what do I do?
This week's sponsor is Politeness Translator.
Oh.
You simply type in your unfiltered feelings into the app, and it'll read out a polite, sanitized response that you're probably meant to respond with, rather than just telling them
Okay. Yeah.
how you really feel,
yeah.
or just going, yeah, it's okay, something's fine. Let me show you. We'll just type it in. Hey, this is not fucking cool, yeah? I mean, you vanished, you said we'd get a report, we didn't get a report, we didn't get anything like that, and as you can see, I'm not really ready for this right now. This is not a good time. Even an hour's warning would have been cool. This is not fucking cool. Do you understand why this isn't fucking cool? Just a warning, or get someone else to give us a warning, so that we can do the thing, because this is not fucking okay. But I do want you to fix the shower. S'il vous plaît.
Type that into the app. Okay, it says, this isn't the most convenient time, but I can probably make it work. Can you give me an estimate how long you need? And in future, can you give me at least 24 hours notice so that I can plan my life around this, because it's quite inconvenient to expect me to drop things to do this. As per our contract, yes. Okay, that works.
Yeah. So enter the code Q&PS 209, and you can get an ad-free version of the app for absolutely free on Apple and Android.
Well, that's good, because then I won't have to awkwardly stand waiting for an ad to pass while they're stood there waiting for me to respond. That would be quite awkward.
Yeah, they might have to hear about Audible.
Oh no.
That's Politeness Translator. Look it up. You can find it on, as I said, the App Store or the other App Store that is on the different thing. Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I've been looking at new ways we can generate revenue.
Right, yeah, I love money.
Yeah, exactly. So, we make a reasonable amount of money off of those retro platformers we got in our old back catalog.
Yeah, but we're selling them for $1 each right now.
Well, exactly. We've sold these so many times that, the price has just sort of naturally gone down over time. And, I've been trying to work out how can we make more money off them. So, I got a plan.
Right.
I got a 2-step plan. First step. We make a new bundled version of the games. We take the 3 games that everyone likes, and rather than sell them one by one, we make one package that's got all 3 of them. And we can upcharge a little bit there. We're gonna make it so that you're not buying them piecemeal. Here's a collection with all of them.
Right.
And people aren't gonna buy that because it's more expensive.
But that's not all of our content, right? We're just gonna make 4 or 5 of them, the most beloved ones.
Exactly. So, like, here's what I'm saying. We take a few, we make a collection that costs more than they would be individually to buy, and we make a we make a collection no one wants because it's expensive and it's not letting people just buy the game they want.
Right, and we're just gonna make it like widescreen or something, yeah.
Yeah. So here's part 2 of this. We delist the originals from all of the online stores.
Yeah.
So you don't want to buy the collection that's more expensive and not really any better.
Right.
But you can't just buy the original of the one game you like.
Right.
You have to buy the collection and get upcharged because it's the only way to get them anymore.
Especially after we shut down all those ROM sites.
Exactly.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
I'm gonna be honest, all I have listened to is Despite What You've Been Told by the Two Gallants on repeat for a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Despite What You've Been Told, I once had a soul left somewhere behind, a former friend of mine. The words to it are just seared into my brain. I have listened on repeat. I've listened to one other thing. I've been watching the My Chemical Romance Shrine reunion show from LA from like 2 years ago before the pandemic because
You're gonna go and see them soon.
yeah, it's gonna be like a week and a half after this episode goes up. I'll be seeing them. Like it's about 2 weeks away when we record. I'm gonna be seeing them My Chemical Romance boys.
Wowza, time.
Yeah, so
Times are happening.
I've just been watching their reunion show from 2 years ago on loop a little bit, going, I'm gonna see him.
Yeah, I'm glad you're gonna go and get to see them. I'm very hyped for you to go and see the thing.
Yeah. What about you? What you been listening to?
Lots of fax call mixes, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find... They're mostly just numbered mixes, I'll be honest.
Have we both been having a week of find the one thing that works and just listen to lots of that?
I mean, like, I downloaded a bunch of the fax call mixes off of YouTube. They're almost all labelled drum and bass hyphen reggae mix volume something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got, like, 16 of them saved on my phone.
Uh-huh.
I have been learning contact staff recently.
Oh,
And
yeah.
weirdly, although I've always struggled to do poi to drum and bass,
Yeah.
I'm finding contact stuff actually works kind of well with drum and bass.
It's big and thumpy enough to seem appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go too fast because you need to keep control of it, and it is a big stick.
Yes.
And you can potentially just bash yourself in the leg or the head or various other bits, but like, yeah, it's been really nice to sort of just like, been a bit sunny. I wear my mask on the way up. I find a good space, and then I hold a 6-foot stick so that no one can get too close to me, and I throw it around in a manner that suggests I don't really know what I'm doing, so no one gets close to me. So I don't feel too bad about being unmasked up a hill.
Yay!
In the sunshine. Yeah, and it's been nice to get back to it post Rona as well.
Yeah.
Just be like, I can get back in the sun and hit myself with a stick for an hour.
Need to start going in the hammocks soon.
Yeah, hammock weather.
Oh, nice weather, please. I want hammock weather.
Mm-hmm. You get in the hammock, I'll throw a stick around, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can take the hammock up near where you're taking the stick.
Yeah, and I will stand slightly further away so I don't hit you with the stick. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. Lots of good classic drum and bass tunes, lots of good reggae stuff, and just good sunshine music.
Yay.
Yeah, what about you?
That's everything I've listened to.
Well then. Oh, I have one other thing.
Oh, tell me about the other thing.
SCP Foundation, or SCP Archive. I have listened to episodes 10 and 11 of Project Serapis, which has obviously been their most recent long-running series, going backwards through time, learning about what this thing is, and there is only one more episode left, and I believe that might already be out. Because I think their release day is Tuesday, and today is Tuesday.
Ooh.
So, if you have been waiting to binge that whole thing, now is your chance. It's a fascinating story, and the fact that it is told sort of backward through time, zeroing in on what this thing is,
Yeah.
and like what are all the parties involved and what is happening, and like how that has affected people and the whole area in general, and the people that live there, and secrets. It's just a fascinating story about a particular part of the world and things you find in nature that are not necessarily natural or from round here.
Ah.
I don't want to say anything else, but it's a fascinating story. And so far there is like... Oh, God, they're like half-hour episodes, so I guess there's like nearly 6 hours, or will be about 6 hours worth of content
Cool.
by the time that is done. It is well worth... It's a fascinating story. Give that a look.
Hey.
And that is everything I have listened to.
Well then, time for this.
Having trouble working out how to make a project more interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Make it gayer! Novel? Gayer! Corporate presentation?
Yes.
Gayer.
Ooh.
Coffee and donuts? What to wear? Your government? And painting? Pottery? The city you live in? Gayer!
Why'd you have to rub it in our faces?
Nobody wants your bigoted face anywhere near us, Steve the Fascist. That's why we're loading you into this very gay trebuchet and launching you into the sun. Bang! Yeet!
No homo.
Except it is around here because we made it much gayer by getting rid of the fascist. La 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 la. Cake?
Thank you.
It's got rainbow frosting.
Yay!
La 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 la, and the world was better. Do you like really struggle to find TV shows and stuff to watch?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky. My partner, you know, the one
Yeah.
who wears a tricorn hat,
Oh, yeah.
always just can find me all the best shows.
Oh,
You want to see a
yeah.
show about pirates? Can find you a show about pirates. Want to
Ah.
see the new superhero thing? I get home and they have found me the superhero
Is that friend with the with the hook
with a hook, yeah,
and the eye patch?
yeah,
And the peg leg.
and the ship,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're really good at finding media for you.
I mean, we're polyamorous, so if you'd like to join the polycule, you too could be dating my pirate bae. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors.
Yeah.
All right, Larry.
All right, Barry, how you doing?
You know, a bit sleepy, mate. You know.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. You been up to much?
Oh, I've just been watching the palaver that is a billionaire trying to single-handedly, as an individual, buy a social media platform.
Well, from what I understand, he's succeeded, hasn't he?
I believe so at this point. It basically just dotting the T's and crossing the I's and whatnot.
Yeah, all the paperwork stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, so it's got.
I noticed the fascists are very happy about
Oh, they
this.
are very much, and I'm not surprised. But the thing I've been thinking about a bunch is how much this just points out the. You know, we already knew it was a lie, but this is a great example to point to of the lie billionaires say that, like, oh, I can't fix all the world's problems. You know, people will point out, like, oh, you've got a net worth of X number of $1 billion, and they'll go, oh, yeah, it's not liquid, it's not money I have access to, I can't spend that.
Right up
amount
until
of
you want to
money."
buy a social media platform just so you can kick off your ex-wife's new girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, exactly, and so that you can, you know, you have a block button for anyone that's like, oh, yeah, oh, you made fun of me, you're off the platform now. Oh, because, like, here's the thing that, like, I've seen this comparison made a few times, I think it's a fair one to make.
Yeah.
So, you see a while ago, the UN pointed out that, like, 2% of Elon Musk's net worth, $6 billion, would be enough to essentially end global hunger. And
Yeah.
and
he said, if you can show me a
detailed plan.
detailed plan of how that would work, then I will do that.
Yeah.
And then
they
he gave away $6 billion in Tesla stock, which seems to have been some kind of write-off in order to stop someone investigating him, and also a way of driving up the value of the remaining stock.
Yes.
And also there's no proof that in any way any of that giving away was connected to passing money on to the World Health Organization.
No, none of it actually went to that thing. He basically gave $6 billion of his stock to a different company he owns in a thing that he can point at and go, see, I gave away $6 billion, without actually giving away any money.
And now I don't have to pay any tax at all.
Exactly, but like, anytime a billionaire tells you like they cannot fix the world's problems, like, oh, that money's not actual money, it's just hypothetical. It's like, no, if you want to spend $45 billion buying a social media platform needlessly, you have that power. Just like if you wanted to buy a 2-bedroom home for every homeless person in America, you could do it and have money left over. Like, you are wealthy beyond, like, you have spent more than like the income of entire nations on buying a social media platform that you didn't need to purchase just because you felt like it. And billionaires are evil. They should not exist.
Absolutely. It's morally completely reprehensible to have that much money at all.
Yeah, these people could fix the planet any second they wanted. They just don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Fancy a hug?
Yeah. Good hug, mate. Good hug.
Yeah.
Right, I think we're going to pop the kettle on.
I'm going to have a nice nap, I think.
Nice.
So, Laura. Whale.
That's not the sound a whale makes. That is a chicken.
Maybe it's a very silly whale.
Uh-huh. Do you want to talk about Who Hunts the Whale?
Okay. Who Hunts the Whale is a silly and serious satirical book, definitely satirical, about the video game industry that is becoming increasingly difficult to parody because, what's it, the other day we were like, this is worthy of the book.
Yeah, earlier today I was reading a thread and being like, oh, that's the kind of cartoonish shit that in the book, huh? The reality is trying its best to catch up with our ridiculous parody.
Never catch up with our parody. The point is it's supposed to be the way it is. But yeah, it's a fun book. We have just done the first development draft, so it's now got even more talky bits and even more developed characters, and I think it looks great.
I'm very happy with it. It's coming together great. I'm very proud of it.
And you can pre-order it now at unbound.com/books/whale.
Oh, heck.
Yeah, people are still supporting that. We are up to 108% now. I'm very excited.
Nice.
Yeah. And do you want to tell us about My Dysphoria Monster and Me?
Me and My Dysphoria Monster.
You know what I meant?
I know what you mean, but also I've got to say it the right way around for branding, because I've got to be consistent.
I've got to be able to search it.
Yeah, it's an illustrated children's book. It's coming out on August 18th, 2022. That's like less than 4 months away now. It's rapidly approaching. Go check it out. You can pre-order it wherever books happen. Other than that, I'm a Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. I've got that good consistent branding. Laura K. Buzz on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Patreon. That's the one that pays the bills. If you would just like to see my accessibility-related content, there is a website for that, specifically for that now. You can go to access-ability.uk, and all of my pieces are there with written versions and videos, and it's all there in one place. And there's a little box where if you want to get emails whenever a new episode goes up, you can get emails when new episodes go up. So that's the thing. What about you? What you do? Where are you on the internet?
Well, I couldn't get the unified branding, so I have a website do it for me. Streamerlinks.com/Janiac, JANEIAC. You can find all of my links to my Redbubble and my website that needs updating. I'll get time again at some point. And all of the things I do, music under the name Bedroom Programmer. I need to get back to that. Many things that I have created and will continue to create and try and get back to as soon as I am medicated properly. Woo! And also patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. I'm getting close to 30 Patreons. I'm very excited about that. And you can help me for as little as $1 a month. And it is the dollars a month that really...
Yeah.
Consistent $1 a month. Very helpful. Suddenly someone dropping out at a very high amount. Terribly scary.
Yeah.
One or two people at $1 going, "Whew, okay, I understand. You have your own shit to deal with. I hope you're okay."
Oh, also, sorry, I've just realised I have a thing to pitch and I forgot to mention it.
Oh, heck.
Is that okay for me to mention?
Patreon.com/StoneMonkeyRadio. You can just... Thank you, help. Go.
If you are listening to this after Friday, go look on my Twitter for mentions of a musical band that I have mentioned in some capacity. If you're listening to this before Friday, well, wait until Friday and then check my Twitter at twitter.com/LauraKBuzz. There will probably be a little snippet of music from a band and me being very excited about it in some capacity.
But we cannot say why or how.
No, well, by Friday I'll be able to say why and how, and I'm excited about that, so go check
I'm very
that
excited
out.
for that as well. It's
Yeah,
very cool.
the finished version I keep listening to on loop going, oh, it's so cool.
It's very cool.
And yeah. Anything else?
Really sing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.